Today, I think it's even windier than last week, but I am out here in the garden planting some of my early spring crops. So these are all frost tolerant things that you can plant right now. And well, I've got this trellis here that I slapped together out of some scrap lumber that I had, or well, trim. And around it, I have snow peas planted. And normally I plant bush type, but the ones that I chose to plant this year, it actually recommends growing on a trellis. So we'll see how far they climb up this trellis. And then right beside of them right here, I have, this is, I believe, red boar kale. I'll have to go check the tag. But I planted 3 kale plants, and then I also planted kale seed. And the seed that I planted is a variety called snowboard. So the idea is that I've planted some starts, so I'll have kale early on that's ready, and then right as I'm harvesting it, the kale that's planted from seed should be coming up and getting mature. So that way I've got some early on and some further out. You can kind of plan crop succession that way by doing transplants and seed together. And then also at the other end of this bed, I have Swiss chard planted, which it's another green. I love it. It's really heat tolerant, so once we start getting warmer weather, it'll hang on a little bit longer than the kale. So that's this bed. The other beds I'm working on cleaning up. I've got to till this one up. My cabbage is going to go into this bed. And then after that, I just have onion sets left to plant. And that's the majority of my spring crops. So I've kind of scaled back a little bit because a lot of stuff that I planted last year, it didn't go to waste, but I ended up not needing as much of it as I thought. So, you can kind of adjust year to year. And that's the importance of taking notes. So I keep a garden journal. I write down what works, what we like, what we don't like, and adjust from there. All right, the wind finally let up a little bit. I got this cabbage planted, and I also got the onion sets planted. Now this bed, I use the end of it right here as a compost pile because when I was originally filling up these beds, I didn't have quite enough soil. So for the last couple of years, this side of the bed has been my onion bed. And I'm probably going to move it eventually because onions do pull a lot of sulfur and other nutrients from the soil. So it's really not a great idea to grow them in the same spot year over year without amending the soil. That being said, I've got my compost pile right there. So I pulled some compost over to help beef up the soil a little bit for the onions. Now, this bed behind me, you might be looking at that saying, that's a mess. You might be looking at that too saying, yeah, that's a mess also. I'm right against the backside of my property line here, so that's over on my neighbor, and actually the future sewer line is going to be going through there anyway, so that's all going to get cleaned up within the next year or two. But yeah, these last 2 beds right here at the back, they got a little bit overgrown at the end of last summer. I had squash in this one, and the weeds sort of took over. And then, unfortunately, I had Johnson grass come up in this bed. Which, if you remember a few years ago, when I put in the raised beds, one of the reasons why I put them in is because I was dealing with a Johnson grass infestation. And it looks like the beds held it off for a few years, but it's back and now I have to deal with it. And there's really no easy way to get rid of Johnson grass. Literally the only thing that will kill it, unfortunately, is Roundup. You have to go in, treat it, that goes down into the roots and kills the root system. Johnson grass, it uses rhizomes to spread, so these roots kind of tunnel out underground and then more pops up. So if you cut down one bunch, you've haven't really killed it. You've just cut off its head and it's continuing to spread underground. So it makes it really hard to deal with. It's a very painful, invasive to deal with. And it is an invasive plant. It's not originally from here, it's from Africa. And the reason why it's called Johnson grass, it's actually named after a governor of one of the Carolinas. I forget if it was North or South Carolina. Imported the stuff during, I believe, the Great Depression because he thought it would help feed cows. Sort of a similar thing with kudzu. Yeah, you know what? American cows don't like Johnson grass, and it grows like crazy. Also, I don't know if you can hear it on the camera. You might be hearing some beeping every now and then, really high-pitched noise. I got these last year. There's one here and one at that end of the bed. They are motion sensing pest chasers. So they kind of help keep the rabbits out of the garden. And it seems to be working. I see rabbits over here in the grassy area in my yard all the time. I never really see them venture down this far. So I guess once stuff starts coming up, we'll get a better idea of if I have any animal issues I need to deal with. Something that's been on the docket for a few years now is getting a fence around this garden, and hopefully I'll get to that project this summer. I've priced a few different options, and I just need to commit to one and go ahead and do it. And well, this is my early spring garden. Up next, I'm going to be tackling the row crop area over here, giving it its first till of the year. I would have done it today. It was a really nice day. I had to mow grass, and that kind of ate into my time. And also, I need to get gear oil for the tiller. That's something I just realized that I am out of. But yeah, this is my early spring garden. These are all plants that can withstand frost and some freezing temperatures. If we're going to have like a hard freeze and things are starting to come up, like my kale and Swiss chard, I'll probably come out and throw a sheet over them. But other than that, you know, this is all pretty low maintenance plants this time of year. And the other benefit of gardening this time of year is, you know, there's not a lot of stuff growing right now weed-wise either. So, yeah. And, well, I am going to post a blog post along with this on early spring crops that you can grow. So head over to our website at bobsmarket.com to learn more.